All Maya wanted was a chance to save her mother, get the money to buy her medicine. Late nights, a broken laptop, and secret code were her only weapons. She never imagined the man who had everything, the man who controlled billions, would notice. That night, he came into the kitchen. Snow drifted softly outside, but inside, the air seemed to freeze. Maya's fingers froze on the keyboard as he stopped behind her, eyes scanning the lines of code she had poured her heart into. She expected anger, dismissal, maybe even laughter, but what she saw instead made her heart skip a beat. This is the story of Maya Carter, a young black woman fighting for her mother, her dreams, and her life, and how a single moment in a quiet kitchen would force a billionaire to sit down, listen, and realize that he had just witnessed something extraordinary. Before we dive in, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city or state in the comments. I read every single one, and it always amazes me how far this story reaches. Your voice matters here, just like Maya's will in her journey. Maya Carter, 23 years old, moved like a shadow through the kitchen of Langford Estates, trying to balance trays with her dreams. Snow fell softly outside the tall windows, covering the New York countryside in white. She worked double shifts to afford her mother's treatments, but her heart lived inside the code she wrote every night. During a break, she slipped behind a prep counter, opened her old laptop, and typed fast. Her fingers shook from the cold and from hope. She had built something powerful, something she believed could change everything. If only the world would see her. She didn't hear the footsteps. She didn't sense the presence behind her. She only felt a cold rush when she lifted her head and saw Adrian Langford, the billionaire who owned the mansion, staring at her screen. Her chest tightened. She expected yelling, firing, humiliation, like every story she'd been warned about. Her breath stalled. She whispered an apology, already preparing for the worst. But instead of anger, Adrian slowly lowered himself into the chair across from her, his eyes fixed on the lines of code running across her screen. "Where did you learn to write like this?" he asked softly, almost stunned. Maya blinked at him, confused. No one with money ever spoke to her that gently. For a moment, she felt seen. Then her laptop flickered. The cursor froze. A grinding sound echoed from deep inside the machine. Maya's heart dropped as the screen turned black, her entire project at risk of disappearing forever. Maya's breath came fast and shallow as she tapped the power button again and again. Nothing. The screen stayed black. Her entire project, months of work, sleepless nights, and hope, felt like it was dying in her hands. "No, no, no. Please don't do this," she whispered, her voice cracking. Adrian leaned forward, eyes sharp with concern. Without hesitation, he pulled out his phone. "Tech team, to the kitchen. Now." His tone carried the weight of a man used to being obeyed instantly. Within seconds, 2 engineers rushed in, lifting the fragile laptop as if it were evidence from a crime scene. When the room cleared, the kitchen felt strangely quiet. Maya wrapped her arms around herself, unsure if she should stand, sit, or disappear completely. Adrian didn't let the silence drown her. "You built that system alone?" he asked. She nodded, still trembling. "On that old machine?" Another nod. He exhaled slowly, studying her as if she were a puzzle he finally understood. "Do you realize what you've created? My senior team hasn't been able to optimize performance like that in over a year." Maya stared at him, stunned. For the first time, someone powerful was not laughing at her dream, but admiring it. The moment shattered when the kitchen door burst open. Roderick Hale, one of Adrian's longest-serving senior developers, stormed inside, his face red with anger. He pointed at Maya with a trembling finger. "She stole our code," he shouted. "I saw it on her screen. She's been spying on us." The room froze around them. If Maya's story is keeping your heart racing and your mind hooked, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps me know you're enjoying these moments. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss a single twist, and share this story with someone who loves drama, suspense, and a bit of inspiration. Every comment and click reminds us that no matter the storm, we're in this together. Roderick's voice rose louder, sharp enough to slice through the warm kitchen air. "You think you can sneak around? Use our equipment? Steal what my team spent months building?" Staff members froze mid-step, eyes turning toward Maya like she was suddenly dangerous. Her cheeks burned, her hands trembling as she shook her head. I didn't steal anything, she whispered, but her voice was too small, swallowed by Roderick's rage. You don't even belong here, he snapped. A waitress pretending to be a developer? Pathetic. The words hit her harder than she expected, reopening old wounds she thought she'd buried. Before Roderick could speak again, Adrian stood up sharply. His voice cracked like thunder. That's enough. The room went silent. Roderick stepped back, startled by the authority in Adrian's tone. Adrian turned to Maya, his expression gentler than she had ever seen from someone in his world. Explain your project, he said quietly, as if giving her permission to reclaim her dignity. She swallowed hard, gathering the strength to speak. It's a predictive engine, she said softly. I built it from scratch on my old laptop. It runs faster because I designed it to use memory differently. I had to learn everything on my own. Adrian nodded slowly, impressed, but Maya wasn't finished. Her eyes glistened. I did it because my mother is dying, she admitted. Her treatments cost more than I can earn. I need this. I need something to change. The words left her lips, and suddenly her knees buckled. Darkness flooded her vision as she collapsed to the floor. Maya woke to the soft glow of morning lights spilling across a room she didn't recognize. The sheets beneath her were warm, smoother than anything she had ever slept on. It took a moment for her memory to catch up. The kitchen, Roderick yelling, her confession, the dizziness. She sat up slowly, realizing with a jolt that she was in one of Adrian Langford's private guest rooms. Snow drifted past the tall windows, painting the world outside in quiet white. The door opened gently. Adrian stepped inside, carrying a tray with oatmeal, fruit, and warm tea. You scared everyone, he said softly, setting the tray beside her. For a billionaire known for his ruthlessness, he looked strangely human in that moment. Concern etched across his face. Maya pulled the blanket around her, embarrassed. I'm sorry, she murmured. I didn't mean to cause trouble. You didn't, he replied firmly. He sat in a chair across from the bed. Tell me about your mother, and about you. No company talk. Just truth. Maya hesitated, but something in his voice made it easier to speak. She told him about the bills stacking up, the years spent learning to code from free online videos, the late nights balancing 2 jobs while caring for her mother in their small New Jersey apartment. Adrian listened, truly listened, as if her words mattered. Before Maya could finish, Adrian's phone buzzed violently. He glanced at the screen, and his face drained of color. Maya, he whispered, standing abruptly. Someone's been found dead in the snow outside the estate. Adrian rushed down the hallway, and Maya followed, her legs still unsteady, but her fear stronger than her weakness. Snow whipped against the windows as they stepped outside, joining a cluster of staff huddled near the garden path. There, half buried in the white powder, lay the still body of Damon Hale, Adrian's closest advisor, the same man who had quietly handed Maya extra gloves the night before when he noticed her shivering. His kind smile was gone now, replaced by a pale stillness that made Maya's stomach twist. Adrian knelt beside him, grief tightening his jaw. Damon had been more than an advisor. He was the voice Adrian trusted when others tried to manipulate him. A police officer arrived minutes later, inspecting the scene with a bored expression. Looks like he slipped, the officer said. Snow can be tricky. Happens every winter. Adrian stared at him, stunned. He knew this property better than anyone, he said, anger slipping through his voice. But the officer only shrugged, writing notes mechanically. Maya stepped back, hugging herself against the cold. Something felt wrong. Damon had been young, strong, aware. He wouldn't just fall. After the police left, the estate buzzed with uneasy whispers, but no one dared say anything openly. Maya wandered toward the back corridor to clear her head, passing by 2 staff members hidden behind a row of winter coats. She froze when she heard one of them whisper, "It wasn't an accident." The other replied, trembling, "I told you, Damon was murdered." If Maya's courage has touched you even a little, hit like to show her story matters. Subscribe to follow every twist and turn of her journey, and share this with someone who needs a reminder that bravery and heart can overcome anything. Your support keeps these stories alive. Maya stepped out from behind the coats, her pulse hammering in her ears. "What did you just say?" she demanded, her voice sharper than she expected. The 2 staff members jerked back, eyes wide. One stammered, We didn't mean anything," while the other grabbed his arm, pulling him away. "Let's go," he whispered fiercely. They hurried down the hallway, almost tripping over each other in their rush to escape her questions. Their fear only made Maya's own terror grow. If Damon had been murdered, why? And who was next? Shaken, Maya returned to the main hall, her breath unsteady. Adrian found her there, still pale from grief but alert enough to notice the panic in her expression. "Maya, what happened?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then told him everything. The whispers, the fear in the staff members' voices. Instead of brushing it off like the police had, Adrian believed her instantly. He placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "I won't let anything happen to you," he said firmly. "You're safe here. I promise." His voice carried a strength she desperately needed, but it didn't erase the knot tightening in her chest. Just as she took a deep breath, trying to steady herself, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, expecting a message from work or a reminder about her mother's medication. Instead, she saw her mother's name flashing across the screen. When Maya answered, her mother's trembling voice cut through the line. "Maya, someone broke into our home in New Jersey." The words barely left her mother's mouth before Maya was already moving. "I'm coming right now," she said, her voice breaking as she grabbed her coat. Adrian followed her, worry tightening his expression. "Maya, wait." But she shook her head fiercely. "I have to go. She's alone." There was no hesitation in her eyes. Nothing mattered more than her mother's safety. Adrian didn't argue again. Instead, he grabbed his keys. "I'll drive." Snow fell heavier as they sped down the long private road, the tires crunching through ice. Maya leaned forward in the seat, hands clasped tight, her breath fogging the window. Adrian kept glancing at her, trying to offer something, anything, to calm her. "You know," he said softly, "I wasn't exaggerating earlier. Your code, it's extraordinary. I've seen senior engineers try and fail to build what you built alone." Maya barely absorbed the words, but part of her felt a small spark, of pride, of disbelief, of something she couldn't name. "I didn't build it to impress anyone," she murmured. "I built it to save her." Adrian nodded as if he understood completely. When they finally pulled up to the small New Jersey apartment complex, Maya's heart dropped. The front window of her mother's unit was shattered, glass covering the snow in sharp, glittering pieces. The curtains inside whipped back and forth in the wind. The lights inside flickered weakly, casting jumping shadows across the walls. Maya stepped out of the car, fear gripping her throat. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. Maya burst through the shattered doorway, heart hammering as snow drifted inside the apartment. The living room was a mess, furniture overturned, drawers pulled open, papers scattered. Her mother, clutching a blanket around her shoulders, sat on the couch, wide-eyed and trembling. "Mom, are you okay?" Maya cried, rushing to her side. Her mother nodded shakily, tears streaming down her face. I didn't hear anything until you called. I thought they were going to take me," she whispered. Relief washed over Maya, but it was fragile, like thin ice over a dark pond. Adrian followed cautiously, scanning the apartment. "We need to know if anything's missing," he said. Maya shook her head. "No, it's not about money this time. Someone's trying to scare me." She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of months of secrecy finally pressing down. "I haven't told anyone about my project, not really. I've been coding alone, trying to create a system that could predict efficiency for software models, something that could change everything." Her mother blinked in awe, but fear still clouded her eyes. Before Maya could finish explaining the finer details, a sharp crash made them all jump. A brick had smashed through the front window, landing in the middle of the floor. Wrapped around it was a small, folded note. Maya's hands shook as she picked it up and unfolded it. The words were scrawled in thick, angry letters. "Stop the project." The message made her blood run cold. Whoever was behind this wasn't just warning her, they were threatening her. And now, she knew, the danger had become real. Adrian didn't hesitate. He turned to Maya, his jaw tight with determination. "You're not staying here. Not tonight. I'll take both of you somewhere safe." Maya's mother clung to her daughter, fear etched on her face, but she nodded, trusting Adrian in a way she never thought possible. Within minutes, they were bundled into his black SUV, snow crunching under the tires as they left her shattered apartment behind. Maya pressed her hands against the cold glass, her mind racing with questions. Who wanted her stopped? Why? The drive was long and quiet, only the soft hum of the engine and the distant winter wind filling the space. Finally, they arrived at Adrian's winter home in Massachusetts, a sprawling estate nestled among towering pines, the snow muffling the world outside. Inside, a crackling fireplace warmed the grand living room. Maya's mother sank into a chair, exhausted but grateful. Adrian poured tea for both women. "You'll be safe here," he said firmly. Maya let herself believe him, even for a moment, as the warmth seeped into her chilled bones. As she settled into a plush armchair, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Frowning, she pulled it out. The screen glowed with an incoming message from an unknown number. When she opened it, her stomach dropped. Lines of code she had written in secret filled the screen. Her project, fully exposed, shared without her consent. A single line followed at the bottom. "We have what we need. Do not try to hide it." Maya's hands shook violently. Whoever was behind this was closer than she thought, and far more dangerous than she had imagined. Maya's heart pounded as she stared at the glowing screen. Every line of her carefully written code had been accessed, duplicated, and sent to someone unknown. She tried shutting the laptop down, but it flickered back on, completely unresponsive to her commands. Adrian's face was hard, jaw tight. "They've hacked it remotely," he said. "Someone is watching everything you've done. Right now." Maya's stomach dropped. Months of secret work, the only hope she had to help her mother, was no longer safe. Adrian moved quickly, summoning a trusted cybersecurity expert from his private team. Within the hour, the expert, a tall woman named Simone, was seated in the grand study, fingers flying across a second laptop. Maya watched, her breath held. Simone traced the intrusion, her face darkening with every click. "This isn't amateur work," she said finally. "Someone knows exactly how to access this system without leaving a trace. Whoever it is, they're professional and dangerous." Maya's eyes widened. She had feared exposure, but not something this deliberate. The room fell silent as Simone's fingers paused over the keyboard. She straightened and looked at Adrian gravely. "It's coming from inside your company," she said slowly. Adrian froze. "Inside my company?" Maya's hands tightened into fists. The betrayal stung like a cold knife. Simone nodded. "Someone with access, someone you trust, has been feeding your secrets to the people threatening this young woman." Maya's blood ran cold. The danger wasn't outside anymore. It was closer, hidden in the very walls Adrian had built around himself. Are you on the edge of your seat with Maya? Don't stop now. Like if you're hooked, subscribe so you won't miss the next shocking moment, and share this story with friends who love suspense. Together, we can see how far this story, and your excitement, can go. Adrian stormed into his corporate office, Maya and Simone trailing behind. The room was tense, employees stiff and nervous, sensing the storm about to hit. "Who's responsible?" Adrian demanded, his voice cutting through the chatter like a blade. "Someone inside this company has been leaking confidential information and endangering a young woman's life." Fingers pointed, whispers erupted, and chaos spread through the office like wildfire. Employees argued, denied, and accused each other. The atmosphere was electric with fear and anger, and Adrian's patience snapped. "Enough," he roared, silencing the room. He singled out several senior staff for immediate suspension pending investigation, leaving the office shaken but aware of his power. Back in the quiet of the Massachusetts estate, Maya returned to her laptop, hands trembling as she typed. She focused on her system, rebuilding its safeguards and encrypting her files with stronger protocols. The soft crackle of the fireplace filled the room as snow fell steadily outside. For a moment, Maya felt control returning, her fingers flying across the keys, creating order from chaos. But then she noticed something strange, an unfamiliar folder hidden deep within her code directory. Curiosity overpowered caution. She opened it, and her stomach dropped. Inside were documents she had never seen before, detailed plans outlining Damon Hale's death. Every step, every contingency, every person involved. Maya's breath caught. Whoever had targeted Damon had left a blueprint of murder, and now, in her hands, it was real, undeniable, and terrifying. Her heart raced as she realized. This wasn't just about code anymore. It was about life and death. Maya sat frozen, staring at the hidden files, the words cutting through her like ice. Damon hadn't died by accident. The documents made it clear he had refused to help steal a system, a project that could have made the company untouchable. His loyalty, his honesty, had cost him his life. Maya's hands shook as she absorbed the weight of it. The betrayal ran deeper than she had imagined. The danger wasn't random. It was targeted, precise, and merciless. Her eyes filled with tears as she finally turned to Adrian, who had been pacing nearby, trying to make sense of the chaos in his company. Adrian, Damon didn't die by accident, she whispered, voice trembling. He was killed because he refused to steal something for someone inside your company. I have the files. Adrian's face darkened, the full horror sinking in. He leaned over her, steadying her trembling hands. We'll protect this, he said firmly. We'll figure it out together. No one else will get hurt because of this. I promise you. For a moment, the warmth of his words grounded her, a fragile anchor in the storm of fear and grief surrounding her. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the Massachusetts home. The sound of breaking glass shattered the brief calm. Shadows moved in the hallway outside. Maya's heart stopped as she realized the worst. A masked intruder had broken into the house, and now, the danger that had been chasing her for months was inside, inescapable, and terrifyingly close. Maya and Adrian ducked behind a heavy leather sofa, breaths shallow and hearts pounding. The masked intruder moved silently through the hallway, flashlight cutting across the walls, knocking over vases and scattering papers. Every step echoed like a drum of impending doom. Maya clutched her laptop to her chest, praying the files were safe. Adrian's hand rested lightly on her shoulder, grounding her, but his eyes were sharp, calculating their next move. The intruder's breathing was uneven, frantic. He was searching, looking for something, and he wouldn't leave empty-handed. Minutes stretched like hours as they watched him overturn furniture and flip through cabinets. Maya's mind raced. Could they escape? Could they protect her mother and the project? The tension was unbearable, each shadow a potential threat. Just as the intruder approached the study where the backup drives were kept, a group of Adrian's security personnel burst in, weapons drawn, and commanding him to freeze. Chaos erupted for a moment, but the intruder fought back, only to be subdued by the combined efforts of the team. Finally, the struggle ended, and the masked figure slumped to the floor, panting and restrained. Adrian signaled the guards to remove the mask. Maya's stomach dropped as the face was revealed. It was Roderick Hale, the senior developer who had humiliated her in the kitchen, the man who had accused her of stealing code, the same one who had tried to sabotage her project from the start. His cold, angry eyes met hers, and in that instant, Maya realized just how deep the betrayal ran, and how dangerous it had become. Roderick's face twisted with fury as he was dragged to his feet, his voice shrieking through the Massachusetts home. You don't understand. That project, her project, it will destroy everything. You think you can let a waitress play with code that can control the future? It's dangerous. It's insane. His words ricocheted off the walls, each one dripping with anger and fear, aimed at Maya, Adrian, and anyone who dared to listen. Maya's chest tightened, but she refused to look away. She had worked too hard, risked too much, to let his threats shake her now. Adrian's gaze was ice. Roderick, he said slowly, deliberately, you've endangered lives, lied, and betrayed this company. You are no longer part of it. He gestured to the security team, who stepped forward, handcuffs ready. The remaining employees watched silently as Roderick was let out, shouting, struggling, his fury echoing down the hall. Adrian turned back to Maya, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. You are safe here. Nothing he says matters. Maya exhaled, relief and tension mingling, feeling the first real sense of security in days. But just as the door closed behind him, Roderick's voice pierced the air one last time, chilling in its intensity. You don't know who you're really dealing with, he spat, his eyes blazing with hatred. Maya shivered, realizing that even in handcuffs, his words carried a threat that didn't end at the door. Whoever was behind this, his allies, his network, was still out there. The danger wasn't over. It had only shifted, and the storm around her was far from finished. Adrian paced the study, his hands clenched into fists, snow falling silently outside the grand windows. Maya, he said, voice low and tense, this isn't just Roderick. I'm starting to believe my own board may be behind all of this. They have access to everything, and they've been quietly undermining me for months. Maya's eyes widened. The people he trusted most, the men and women running his company, could be plotting against her. Fear crawled up her spine like icy fingers. The betrayal was deeper than she had imagined. Taking a shaky breath, Maya turned back to her laptop. She pushed aside the panic building in her chest and focused on her code, encrypting her system, strengthening its protections, and creating layers of security she hadn't imagined needing just days ago. Each line she typed felt like a shield, every keystroke a defiance against the world that had tried to steal everything from her. She glanced at Adrian, who watched quietly, giving her space but offering silent support. Slowly, she felt a flicker of control returning, a fragile hope in a world spinning violently out of her grasp. Their tentative calm shattered minutes later. Adrian's phone buzzed with urgent alerts from his private airport. They ran to the windows, hearts pounding, just in time to see a massive fireball erupt on the runway. Smoke billowed into the cold air, and pieces of twisted metal littered the snow. Adrian's private plane, their planned escape, their backup, was gone. Maya stared in horror. Whoever was targeting them had escalated. The war wasn't just about code anymore. It was about survival. If you're loving this ride with Maya, show some love, smash that like button, subscribe to join our story family, and share it with someone who can't resist a little drama, suspense, and heart. Comment too. I'd love to know how far you've traveled with us through her journey. The authorities arrived quickly, their presence heavy and tense. Investigators combed through the wreckage of Adrian's private plane, eyes narrowing as they examined the twisted metal and scorch marks. This wasn't an accident, one officer muttered, shaking his head. Someone wanted this destroyed. Sabotage is the only explanation. Maya's stomach churned as she watched the scene unfold. The danger had escalated beyond her worst fears. Whoever was after her project had no limits, and they were willing to destroy anything, anyone, to get it. Back inside the Massachusetts home, Adrian finally turned to her, exhaustion etched across his sharp features. "Maya," he said quietly, his voice soft but heavy, "I'm sorry. I should never have pulled you into this world of mine. None of this should have touched you or your mother. I wanted to protect you, and instead," he trailed off, shaking his head. Maya looked at him, fear still tangled with anger and gratitude. "It's not your fault," she whispered, though the weight of the truth pressed down on both of them. She tried to calm herself, clutching her laptop to her chest as she reviewed her code. But her phone buzzed suddenly, the screen lighting up with a message from an unknown number. Her fingers trembled as she read the words. "We want you, not him." Maya's heart froze. The threat was no longer vague, no longer just toward Adrian. It was personal. Whoever had been orchestrating this from the shadows had singled her out, and now she knew the true danger had only just begun. Maya sat in the dimly lit study, staring at her laptop, the weight of everything pressing on her chest. Her mother slept fitfully in the next room, unaware of how close danger had come. Maya's hands shook as she typed a message, hesitating before sending it. Maybe it would all end if she handed herself over to whoever was orchestrating this chaos. Maybe if she became their target directly, Adrian and her mother could be safe. The thought made her stomach twist, but the fear and exhaustion were almost too much to bear. Adrian crouched beside her, his eyes soft but intense. "Maya, listen to me," he said firmly, gripping her shoulder. "You are not just a target. You are brilliant. You've done something nobody else could. You matter. What you've built, it can change lives. If you give up now, they win. And I won't let that happen." His words sank in, steadying her racing heart. She looked at him, saw the unwavering determination in his gaze, and realized he wasn't just protecting her. He believed in her. For the first time in days, Maya felt a flicker of courage. But just as she exhaled, a loud pop echoed through the house, followed by the grinding hum of failing circuits. The lights flickered once, twice, and then everything went dark. Panic surged through her as the shadowy shape of a figure appeared at the doorway. Someone had breached the house again. Maya's pulse spiked. The intruder wasn't just outside this time. They were inside, and closer than ever. Maya grabbed her mother's hand tightly as she followed Adrian through the snow-covered woods behind the estate. The darkness pressed in around them, broken only by the faint glow of the moon reflecting off the fresh snow. Every crunch of their footsteps made Maya flinch, heart hammering. fearing the intruder would catch up at any moment. The cold bit through their coats, but there was no time to stop. They ran, stumbling over roots and icy patches, desperate to put distance between themselves and the danger inside the house. After what felt like hours, Adrian spotted a small silhouette through the trees. "There," he whispered, guiding them toward a hidden abandoned cabin. Its wooden frame groaned under the weight of snow, but it was intact. Inside, they huddled together, snow melting from their coats onto the rough floorboards. Maya breathed hard, relief washing over her in uneven waves. For a moment, the forest silence wrapped around them, and she allowed herself to rest. Her mother clutched her hands tightly, shivering, but she was alive, and that was all that mattered. But the fragile calm shattered in an instant. Maya's mother convulsed violently, collapsing onto the cold floorboards, her body shaking uncontrollably. Maya screamed, bending over her, panic twisting in her chest. "Mom! Mom, stay with me!" Adrian rushed to help, his eyes wide with alarm. Maya's heart pounded in her ears. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. And for the first time, she feared that even their escape through the snow might not be enough to save her mother's life. Adrian's SUV tore through the snow-covered roads, lights cutting through the dark winter night. Maya held her mother in her lap, shaking, crying, as the older woman's body trembled violently. "Hang on, Mom. Please," Maya pleaded, her voice raw and desperate. Adrian's hands gripped the wheel tightly, glancing at them through the rearview mirror. Every second felt like an eternity. The hospital loomed ahead, bright against the dark forest, and they raced inside, adrenaline and fear propelling them faster than ever. Doctors and nurses swarmed around them, pulling Maya's mother onto a stretcher. Machines beeped, monitors flickered, and Maya stood frozen, clutching her mother's hand as paramedics worked. Hours later, Adrian returned to her side, exhaustion and worry etched across his face. A doctor approached, removing his gloves. "She's stable," he said cautiously. "She'll survive, but she needs intensive treatment, long-term therapy, specialized care, the kind that costs far more than most can afford." Maya's chest tightened. She swallowed hard, knowing she didn't have the money. Her mother's life was at risk, and she couldn't pay to save her. Adrian placed a firm hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone," he said. He stepped to the hospital window, raising his phone to take a photo of the snowy night. Moments later, the media buzzed with a live announcement. Adrian Langford would personally fund Maya's mother's treatment. And, more importantly, he revealed he would expose the corruption in his own company, unmasking the board members who had endangered them all. Maya's eyes widened. Relief mingled with shock. The tide was turning, but the world would soon see just how dangerous her fight had been. Adrian's press conference shook the business world. Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled, and microphones caught every word as he methodically exposed the corruption of his board members, the manipulation, the sabotage, the threats that had endangered Maya and her mother. Within days, the guilty executives were removed, investigations launched, and the company began to rebuild under Adrian's honest leadership. Maya watched the coverage from the hospital room, her heart lightening with every passing moment. Her mother's recovery was slow but steady. She smiled weakly, holding Maya's hand as the younger woman finally set her finished project on the desk. The predictive system, now fully secured, ran flawlessly. Maya explained its function to a small team of engineers Adrian trusted, her voice steady, her confidence shining. For the first time, she saw her work recognized not just for its brilliance, but for its potential to change lives. Outside, snow fell softly, dusting the Massachusetts estate in white. News outlets reported that Maya's system had been approved for national use, hailed as a breakthrough that would reshape technology and efficiency across industries. She closed her laptop, breathing deeply, savoring the calm. Later, in the quiet of her room, Maya discovered Damon Hale's old notebook, tucked away in a forgotten drawer. Inside was a single handwritten message. "Your brilliance will save millions. Keep going." Maya stepped outside, snowflakes settling on her hair and shoulders. She looked up at the sky, feeling the weight of the past lift. Finally free, finally seen. The world was hers to shape, and for the first time, she smiled without fear. If Maya's journey inspired you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. because everyone deserves to be seen and heard, no matter the odds. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder that courage, brilliance, and kindness can change the world. And hit the bell so you never miss a story that makes you gasp, cry, and cheer all at once.